Slurpdy dep, my G's. Yes, guys, hope you guys are doing great. So I had a great question from a subscriber recently. Big ups to you, Seb. This was on a video I did about making a mono vocal into stereo by creating a specific stereo layer to add upon the vocal to have these new stereo harmonics on top of the mono sample, you know? And so Seb says, any particular reason you duplicated the vocal track rather than putting the effects chain on a return track? I think it's called an aux channel in Logic. Then you could apply the effect to multiple tracks if needed, and presumably Logic would allow the whole aux channel to be saved with plugins so you could quickly load into other projects. Yes, so as I was, all of this is just my workflow, and I can tell you the reason why I have this kind of workflow though, you know? So when I started making music, I would also often have like lots of multiple like effects, like sends and stuff like that, like in Logic, you know, like sending something to a bus, having an effect, you know, whether it's reverb or delay or like distortion or something like that, you know? And as time went on, I basically discovered that I hate that. I hate it a lot. So there's a few reasons why I don't like doing that. But yeah, I'll just give you like a brief overview of some of them. So for one, like here, for example, you know, let's say here I've got my main vocal and I wanted to add like a reverb to it. Now, why I like to add the reverb on a separate channel rather than in a send is because once I've got that reverb on a new channel, it like bounced out to audio, I can see how long the reverb is, and yeah, I can shorten it and control it if I want. Basically, the point is that I hate to have lots of audio coming from sends because it's like stuff that's happening almost like behind the scenes. It's like stuff that's happening like in the background that you don't visually see the audio for. And there's actually there's one thing. This is just something that really, really annoys me, and I don't say this negatively towards anyone, but I have loads of students that I've worked with in the past. I especially recall one student who I won't mention his name, but I absolutely love him, and he's an absolute legend. A guy from the UK, and yeah, every time we worked on a project, he would have so many sends, and he would have these like really long, infinite delays and infinite reverbs. And whenever we would like work on a song together, like over Zoom, whenever he would pause the track, it would just keep going, you know, because as soon as he pressed stop on the keyboard, there was like 1,000 reverbs and delays. So we'd have to wait 2 or 3 minutes every time after he pressed stop before we could hear each other again, because there were so many sends and delays, you know, going on. Now, obviously, that's an extreme version, you know, but that's actually one thing that I hate about sends is that when I press stop on my keyboard in my project, everything stops like it should, you know, because everything's in audio. You know, there's nothing that's like still got signal going, you know, like through plugins. So yeah, when everything's like in audio, and it's like, especially if it's been bounced out, you know, you hit stop and the track actually goes to silence, and you can actually have the desired result, you know. So actually being able to pause the track and everything stops is one great benefit of that. But that's not the only thing, really. Like, also just seeing everything in audio is super useful from like a mixing engineer standpoint. It's just so much easier to process it and manage it in your brain in your project when you can like see where all the audio is, you know. When you've got sends and you've got all these sounds in the back end, you can't see them, you know. So there's sounds that are like in the mix, but you don't actually sort of have a visual representation, or you don't actually like locate them exactly, you know. So it's just kind of bizarre when you think about it, when you're trying to like have a clean and tidy mix. Like it seems to me so much less complicated when everything you hear you're able to visually see. That's just one other thing. Okay. Also, then another thing is being able to control the lengths of things. So again, if you've got super long reverbs or long delays, like this one down here, for example, if I've sort of reverbed out the vocal here, now I've got this sort of long reverb. I don't necessarily always want it to be so long. And this is also true because I love to use big, really super over the top long reverbs to give you that kind of feeling. But then I actually don't want the end of it. I don't want it to actually like reach the whole end if it's like 3 or 4 or 10 seconds long. I don't want it to actually go all the way to the end. But in some reverb and delay plugins, like if you shorten it inside the plugin, that actually will change the sound of it. So sometimes you actually want that over the top long reverb sound, but then you want to shorten the length. So if I had it here like a vocal reverb with a super long super long sound, I can when it's an audio, I can then like actually control the length where I want it to stop and have it actually stop directly where I want it to, especially if I'm going like into a new section or into a drop. Having that in audio, I can be extremely precise and stop it exactly where I want it to. That's probably one of the main advantages of not using sends, is to have that ultimate control of where things start and stop. Because if it's just a send that's loosely running in the background, you don't really know how long those tails are lasting for. You don't know how much audio is kind of happening in the background of your mix without you being able to place where it actually is, where it's coming from, how long that tail is going to be. So that's actually the main reason. And there was another part to your question where you said having multiple effects on, like using the same effect on different tracks. I actually found that doesn't really make much sense to me. I know that it's a very common thing to do, but from my techniques and my mixing style and my producing style, I think that every specific sound doesn't necessarily need the exact same effect on it, so I kind of get where you're coming from. If you have like if you have a drum kit maybe with lots of different samples and you want to feed them all into the same send so that they all have this kind of room sound on, like the same sort of drum reverb room sound. I kind of get where you're coming from with things like that, but in practice, in reality, in my production at least, that's never really necessary, because there's other ways that you can like gel things together to make them feel like they're one unit, for example. And also, you don't have to do it in that way where you put a send on everything together. There's like other ways you can do that, just naturally, So it's not the only way to gel things together by putting the same effect send, on everything. I actually find from my production style that like sometimes having different types of reverb colors or different types of effects layers on different sounds, each different sound has a different kind of color to it. It actually creates an even richer background, So I'm all about creating that nice background through layering, kind of by ear always, and not relying on everything having the same effect on, but just coloring things differently and seeing how those sort of colors mesh and blend in together in the background. That's just how I like to do it, So if I'm working on a drum kit, rather than putting the same reverb on everything, what I would do is I might not actually feel like I need to reverb the kick, and I might not need to reverb the snare, or maybe I'll reverb the snare with a bit of convolution reverb to give that an interesting character. But then in the hi-hats, maybe I'll give them more of a like natural, longer reverb, but just for them. And yeah, I don't, in my own production, have this like thing where I have the same reverb on every part of on every sound, you know. I used to do that back in the day. Like I used to do that a lot. And it does, like, in a sense, make sense, you know. But I think that concept is over. I think it's like, it's not, you don't have to do that, you know. It's not something that you have to do. As long as you pay attention to the color and the depth that's going on in your background, you can still, you know, find your own way to create that sort of, those sort of background layers and textures that naturally fit with each other without having to use the same effects on everything. And also, without having to use sends. But yeah, primarily the main answer in this the main point in this long-winded answer is that I just like to see everything that I'm hearing, basically, you know, not because I have bad hearing, and not because I'm like a DJ who has to rely on the visuals to know what's happening, but in terms of like finding all of the bits of audio that may not need to be in the mix. That's the number one thing, because when you do it with FX sends and FX layers, it's all going on in the background, and you don't have that final control of audio here, no audio here, no audio here. Yep, you don't have that final say in the exact timing on the grid, you know, and that is the key to me, is having that like clear cut audio signal on or off in the duration of the song at all times, like clinically. And you can't really do that with sends, because you don't know how long they're really lasting for, you know. So that's the main reason, my G. Hope that was helpful. Hope that cleared things up. And again, this is just from my perspective of production. You know, everyone's got their own take. You know. All right, that's it. That's cleared that up. Hopefully, from my perspective. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe as well. I know only about half of you are subscribed. So if you hit the subscribe button today, that would be really, really helpful for me if I've helped you out along the way. And then you'll get notified on other new videos, and you can leave comments down below and suggest other videos, because I'm always looking for ideas on topics to talk about, you know, things to do. So that's very, very helpful as well. So thank you very much, my G's. Also, there's some other links down below if you want. I've got preset packs. I just launched a new Vital preset pack called Defiance. It's really, really sick. Check out the demos. There was a sale on. I think it's ended now, actually, or we might still just about be able to get them on sale. But there's loads of other packs on my website: Serum, Phase Plant, and Current. If you want production lessons as well, book in directly via my calendar down below. Send me an email if you need more information. If you need mixing and mastering work done, send me an email. And come along and join us on Patreon. We've got a great community over there, a really fantastic Discord with lots of people helping each other out every day. So thank you very much. That's it from me today. More from me very soon. Much love.